given to this man. We just thought of it, and he absolutely, pick on Steve all you want, whatever, but I tell you what, without him,
Okay.
it wouldn't be nowhere near this. He's just, I've tried to hire Steve. He's an absolute machine when it comes to promoting and getting stuff done. Well, I asked a good friend of mine to come in. Some of you know him, some of you may not, but Mr. Denny with the FRA Fishermen's Rights Alliance. There's a lot of things going down right now that's happening with our government. They're telling us grouper season is getting ready to close up, and I guess that's what Larry was going to come in. But first, let's say everybody say a prayer for Larry. He's went in for a stress test, and they told him, said, well, going to the hospital, we're either going to put stents in or you're going to have some surgery done. So say a prayer that Larry will be okay. And so anyway, just keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Would be awesome. So he'll have a quick, speedy recovery, be out fishing real soon. But anyway, I guess we want to talk about grouper fishing. Well, our government scientists in their infinite wisdom have decided that there are no gag grouper out there. And buddy, I tell you what, from 16 feet to 200 feet, we're catching grouper. And I kid you not, solid 20 to 25 pounders all the way out. And it's absolutely nuts how many of them are out there. We did a TV show with the Ocean Conservancy a few years ago, and this crowd, they get quite a bit of money to do, I guess, like an assessment or a stock study, if you will, of the grouper. So they paid me and Michael money to go out and do this show with them. So we're like, yeah, okay, we'll take your money, we'll go. So we went out. They started out by saying that we didn't have any juvenile grouper in this area. So we went out with Captain Dan Berry. Well, Dan's like, okay. So we went to this one spot. We dropped down. Every grouper that we caught was 18 to 20 inches. Boom, 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 boom. Well, then they changed gears. So now this is back when the federal government closed grouper season. The state government told the federal government to pound sand, we're staying open. So the guise of this is that we had to do all of the fishing in state waters because they were wanting to prove that we didn't have the fish in state waters, that the federal government was right, this stuff needs to be shut out. So they said, well, you don't have any keeper grouper. Reel them up. We ran about 5 miles to the north. Dropped them down. Everything we pulled in the boat was 24 to 26 inches. Boom, 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 boom. Well, then they changed gears again. So you don't have any of the big males. That's what we really need. We need the males because all these groupers, they start out in life as female. Then one of them will become dominant and then turn male. And that's what our rusty bellies are. They're the big males. Pull them up. We ran 15 miles to the south. We did not pull a fish in under 28 inches. I think the big one was 36. And so then they changed gears again. So we got to understand Tampa, St. Petersburg is on the right latitude for the grouper epicenter. I said, so you're telling me that my grouper are fine? He said, well, we're really concerned about the grouper on the fringes. So I'm like, well, our grouper's fine. Why don't you just leave them alone? So we get back to the dock. We start drinking. I asked him, I said, Terry Gibson was out with us. I said, Terry, if you went back and told the government that our grouper was fine, what would happen to your grant money? Would you get it? He said, probably not. I said, well, I'm going to tell you, standing here on the dock, you're full of shit. Excuse my language. And that's all it is. It's all over $1. And don't let anybody kid you. That's what our gag grouper is stronger than I have ever seen it. There's no reason. And if they were in trouble, then why is it now our commercial fleet? They're allowed a certain amount of pounds. Say you're allowed to catch 1,000 pounds. You're allowed to, whatever it may be. But you can catch them year round. You pick when you want to go catch them. Now, if our fishery was in trouble, doesn't it make sense that they would close it when they were spawning? I mean, am I wrong, Dan?
No, you're dead right.
And it just absolutely makes no sense. And there's some things like with there's another thing coming up to where they're wanting to change it and make the breakaway jig illegal at Boca Grande Pass because they're deeming it as a snagging device. And I'll tell you, it doesn't matter to me which side of the fence you're on, whether you're saying they're snagging them, they're not, it makes no difference. When we let our legislators start making gear regulations, that's when it was say, well, you know, every jig's really intended to snag them. So we need to do away with all jigs and all artificials, and that's something we need to stop. There's a lot of things that are coming down the pipe that are just it's absolutely ludicrous. Walmart's have spent $16 million. Is that right?
Last year alone.
Last year alone, they spent $16 million for sector separation. Which what that means is Mike Lesko, or for a lot.
Well, it was the whole catch share.
The whole catch here. We're like Mike Lesko here. He wants to go out and he wants to go catch 10 grouper. He's going to have a fish fry. He wants to go catch 10 grouper. So he and his wife are going to go out and catch grouper. Well, before they go, they're going to have to go to Walmart and buy those permits for those 10 grouper from the federal government through Walmart to go catch a fish that he's already entitled to by being an American. But yet, these people, now why would they spend $16 million to be able to do this? Over $1.
Yeah.
So that's why, and there's a lot of conservation. CCA is a great organization. I don't mean to take any thunder from anybody, but a lot of these organizations, they have the view that, well, to get a little, I got to give a little. Well, the thing I love about my brother Denny here is Denny's like, no, right's right, wrong's wrong. If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck.
Shoot it!
Shoot it! Yeah, I'm gonna call it a duck. I'm not gonna tell you it's a cat and try and slip one past you. It's a damn duck. And it's right or it's wrong. There's no gray. It's black and it's white. And the end of story. So Denny's getting ready to go to Washington when? Next week?
I leave Monday morning about 5 a.m.
He's leaving Monday morning to go meet with his congressmen and legislators on these different issues that we've got coming down the pipe. One of them, Denny thinks that he can get now our American red snapper. How long is that going to be this year? 21 days right now or 40 days?
It all depends. The state of Florida says 44. The federal government says federal water is 27 or less, but we're not done yet.
And then gag, we got how many days of gag season we got this year?
The federal government wants to give us about right around 95, and the state of Florida said, no, we're going until December 1st, don't care what you say.
All right. Well, Denny's of the opinion that he can get us 6 months of red snapper and 10 months of gag, right? He's of the opinion he can do that. Yeah. The FRA is the one that got you your 4 red grouper back after they took them away. Denny sued them, sued the federal government and made them knuckle under. Well, they had all these people say, yeah, we're going to give you money for it, we'll give you money after Denny did it. Thanks, Denny, appreciate it, see you, bye. Well, Denny's doing a lot of this out of his own pocketbook, so I'm urging you, if you're not a member of the FRA, what is it, 25, 50 bucks?
Well, you got different memberships, 35, 70, 50, 100, we'll take $5,000, $10,000, whatever you got.
Yeah. So
we'll put it all to good use because we buy liquor and women for Congress, and that's what really, no, I jest. In all seriousness, like Billy said, last year, the Walton Family Foundation alone spent $16 million on catch shares. They're not the only institutional investors who are looking for a place to park their money to get a good return on something new. So the whole idea behind catch shares, commercial and recreational, is to take our fisheries to the stock market. They put the squeeze play on it first. Take out a lot of the players, get it down to a few, get a few greedy players involved. Those are the leaders, they take the bait. Right now, the red snapper fishery in the Gulf of Mexico, the commercial fishery, which was promised, the catch share program was only going to be owned by the fishermen. Couldn't own shares if you weren't a fisherman. 67% of those shares are owned by non-fishermen right now. And they just passed, they were supposed to keep that for 5 years. They kept it for 4. And last year, $16 million were spent just by Walmart on that. 8 million of them in the recreational sector, right here in the Gulf, pushing something called sector separation with the end game towards talking you guys into fishing is so bad, you're so desperate, you can get 10 days of red snapper. wouldn't it be cool if you could go down to the store and buy a red snapper stamp and go fish it whenever you want? That's what they want you. They want you on your knees to buy that. And then once you buy into that, watch how many fish there really are. There already are. We've seen the gags, we've seen the red snapper, and just so you guys know, I don't just go and complain. We offer solutions. In the past 11 years, I've spent 25 weeks of my time sitting on stock assessments. I sat on all the gag grouper stock assessments, and I got to tell you, that's some hard stuff to sit through. You know, an entire week of listening to scientists talk about models and equations, and you have to be awake enough to go, no, the average discard is not 21 and a half inches. Because the scientist thinks, well, if you threw it back, it was probably a half-inch undersize, we'll use that. Times 4 million thrown back gag grouper. Guess what that does to a stock assessment? So just being involved in that, and I've seen all the nuances of it. I know what they kind of need, and quite honestly, our fish are in great shape, and what's been used to throttle us back is this thing called uncertainty. And Roy Crabtree told me to my face, because I am, out of everybody in the entire fisheries management process, I am the one person that man just despises seeing showing up. I ruin his day when I walk in the room. And that kind of makes mine, because I don't exactly make a lot of money doing that.
Not to interrupt you, but Michael went to, they had a school to show how they came up with these assessments and the science and everything. And he said, yeah, Mike Anderson, my partner, he said that in a 6-hour session, he heard the word uncertainty. Well, we've got this and we're uncertain about this. We're uncertain. Now, all of this is pertaining on how they're gathering this data in a 6-hour session. He said there was a captain from Naples, and they noticed the day before that they were saying this word uncertainty like 81 times in 6 hours. Uncertainty.
And what they use on uncertainty, how they use that for the science is they say, well, you know, you're looking at a sideways chart, and they're saying, well, here's about where we should be, but we're not too sure, so we're going to ratchet it down so we don't really ever hit this level. And they put in different levels of uncertainty, and every time you complain, and this I can quote Roy Crabtree, because he told me this to my face, he said, keep complaining, keep bringing up things that are wrong with the gag assessment, because it's just going to increase the range of uncertainty, and I'm going to manage to the bottom of the range. Keep it up, Dennis. You're going to get to 0. And guess what? Sorry, guys, but he did close gag grouper. That is not what the manager of our fishery should be doing. Do you know how many billions of dollars that's cost us over the past 3 or 4 years? The mismanagement of red snapper, the mismanagement of gag grouper. The fish are there. Dr. Bob Shipp, former chairman of the Gulf Council, world-renowned red snapper expert, testified to Congress less than 2 months ago that there are enough red snapper right now in the Gulf of Mexico to support a 6-month, 3-fish season right now. And we're being held to 27 days, so all of a sudden what's happening now, the sector separation, the charter guys are going, I gotta make my whole living on red snapper in 27 days. So whittle our pie down. Everybody starts to fight over a little bit of pie, and it starts that infighting, that divide and conquer. What I've always said is, no. We need to stand together. We need to go take our pie back. And now more than ever, it's happening. Now more than ever, when I go to Congress, I don't even need appointments. They don't need to be sensitized to fisheries. They don't need to be told about catch shares. They don't need to be told about Agenda 21. They're like, hey, what's up? What's the latest thing happening?
He's been up there enough.
All no, not just me. It's everybody. It is a lot of noise. It has reached a fervor pitch up in D.C. It's a big deal. It's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of money. Roy Crabtree, who used to be able to do no wrong, it killed me, the stuff he got away with. He has had his teeth pulled, and let's just say he's been kind of neutered. And
That's great.
it is great. It is great. But so I'm going to Congress next week, and then within the next month, I'm trying to get the delegation together, because now we've got people who've been fighting for years that are all talking the same talk, and I've got them all agreeing on this 10-month gag season, which, by the way, scientifically, 10-month recreational gag, it should be 24 inches, biologically, 24 or 25. That's the number we should have for gag. Anything below 25 is kind of We're still hitting the nursery a little bit, but the stock can stand it. 10 months, 2 fish, 24-inch gag, you can support that all day long. Guys, how many more boats would be sold? How much more tackle would be sold? How many more people would actually have jobs? Really?
A lot.
And it's just wrong. It's not like the fish are in trouble. It's because I'll tell you what, we are the best stewards of our fishery. We are great stewards of our environment, just like the duck hunters. If there's a problem with the fish, look at the snook. There's an argument over, is snook ready to be fished yet? That's a good argument because it's a solid one. It's about benefit and
saving the
welfare of the
resource.
fish. And when everybody agrees, the snook will be back. Everybody agrees the gag are healthy. Everybody agrees the red snapper are healthy. So what I need help with is getting Congress just a little bit more motivated. We got the states on the same page. The governors have finally all on the same page. The Gulf governors wrote a letter to Congress and said, NIMS bites. What we need to do is the state of Florida needs to direct National Marine Fisheries Service on what to do with the science. The state of Alabama, the state of Texas. It's called the Gulf Council. And how that's supposed to work is those 5 states are supposed to co-manage those fisheries, and they're supposed to tell National Marine Fisheries how to do the science and how to manage the fish. It's been working from the top down. And the pendulum's swinging back. Anybody who's written a letter, made a phone call, man, you've made a difference. If you haven't yet, thefra.org. If you don't want to give me money, I don't care. I'm poor. I'm going to be poor the rest of my life. Doesn't matter. The thing I like to do is go up and kick a $500,000 a year lobbyist's ass. And we kicked a $8 million effort last year. That sector separation thing, FRA's fought that from the beginning. We were the only group to fight it. In fact, at one time, some recreational groups actually supported that idea. We fought it all along. It's been wrong all along. And like Billy said, if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I don't care about the money. I care about the fish. I care about our access to the fishery. And I care about making sure that our rights are maintained. We have a right to a soundly managed fishery and our access. And you guys rock, because I got to tell you, this club is great. I mean, I hear it all the time. You guys do some great things. And number one, fish your brains out.
One thing I'd like to say, what Dennis was saying, once the Walmarts of the world and Wall Street finds out that there's gold and then there are waves in the Gulf, they're going to be coming inshore after your fish next. Think about it. What,
I
Tiger?
got a question. Last month, there was a video in a news channel posted that the federal government is paying for these old oil rigs off of Louisiana and Mississippi to be blown
Yeah.
up.
We
And
were,
they show the hundreds of thousands of pounds of fish in one explosion come floating to the top. Dead.
when we were in Louisiana,
Are we doing anything to push that further? Is it one of those things that was told one time and it's gone silent? Because I try to tell everybody about it that it is absolutely ridiculous that because it's an eyesore in the middle of the Gulf that no one sees unless you're a fisherman anyway, that they're sitting there destroying one now natural habitat of these fish that are endangered from us, and 2, why the government's paying for it when we could be paying for something else besides blowing up an old oil rig that's been capped, not used anymore, and now is natural resources for our endangered fish.
because somebody's wife's aunt's cousin's uncle's brother-in-law owns a demolition company.
No, it's a lot simpler than that, quite honestly. If you guys owned a Gulf oil rig and it was idle, let's just play the oil company just for a second, not that I agree with it, but if that thing's idle, it's costing you over $1 million a year just to maintain it, and it's gonna fall down. It's gonna hurt somebody. People climb on it, people play on it, people dive under it and fish under it. I'm playing devil's advocate here, but that's one of the reasons they're trying to level it. Now, what's the FRA done? Wisely kept their name off the forefront and sicked our boys in Louisiana, the hell divers, who are members of the FRA board. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's been like cheap paint on bad carpeting. Those guys are all over it, man. It's gone up to Congress. They know what's going on. It's really hard to get it stopped. It's heartbreaking that it's happening, and that is on my agenda. But those guys have been at the forefront of it. They're down there, they're filming the fish before they do it. They're out there filming when the rigs are blown up. And I gotta tell you, man, the last people you want to be against you in the world are these guys called the Hell Divers. They are Cajun, coon-ass Louisiana spear fishermen. And I mean, some of them like to lay in a mud ditch and shoot 100-pound garfish because they're in the water, heads underwater. I mean, these guys are sick and crazy, and they're committed too. And they know this is wrong. And we talked about the FRA taking the lead. The problem with the FRA sometimes taking the lead is, like I said, when I walk into the room, Roy Crabtree and everybody else who's doing something wrong, they wonder if I'm there for them. They can't get past it to say, Dennis O'Hearn and the FRA have offered solutions in every single situation we've been in. They just get to the point where, God, he made me look bad. And so the FRA works in mysterious ways, oftentimes without our name. And that thing, we've been all over, Tiger. I mean, hard all over. So I'm glad you asked that, because again, if I just put that out in a newsletter, then it's all of a sudden the connections are going to be made, and the last thing I want to do is get some more heat to oppose that. So we just try. Sometimes it's like having it almost like the mafia, which doesn't exist, I know. But you know, it's like you just nothing's publicized, because when I used to tell everybody what our plans were, I was so damn proud of it. This is what we're going to do. What an idiot I was. God, man, it's like Newt Rockney throwing out the playbook before the big game. Really? No. Now I'm all into Sun Tzu and deception and not telling people and telling people other things, and it's starting to pay off. But the main thing is, like Billy said, doesn't matter what anybody hears or what anybody says. If it sounds wrong, the FRA wasn't backing it, and if it sounds right, we are. It's real simple.
When we were in Venice, Louisiana, before they were blowing those up, every tackle shop, everything we went to, there were petitions where people signed to stop that, and there was like a little, I call them mullet wrappers, you know, the little bit that, like we've got the offshore angler, and you know, the saltwater angler stuff, you know, fishing magazines, and there was write-ups and petitions and letters for you to sign to stop doing that. But I'll tell you, everybody here, when you go home tonight, if you will, go to the FRA.org like Dennis asked, and fill out that letter to send to your congressman and all that. That way he'll have something to take up there with him.
Yeah, before you talk about the group
Oh, go ahead.
catching, I was just going to say on the website what Billy's talking
Yeah, go
about. We
ahead.
got Right
Finish yours up,
Congress.
we'll talk about catching.
You can belt out a personalized letter, drop it off at T.A. Mahoney's Southeastern Tackle Liquidators. I just picked a few in Tampa, so I can come and pick them up Saturday morning. I'm going to hand deliver them to your representatives. So, Billy.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to talk about trolling for gags?
Yeah, we'll talk about, you guys ever do any trolling for gag grouper?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool beans. I'll tell you something real good to do, and you can start trolling right out in front of this place along the ship channel. You going to the bar, Denny?
Yeah, I was going to get some napkins.
Okay.
You spilled your beer.
Please. Thank you, darling.
I'd forget what it was.
I get a little parched. You'll have that. But anyway, trolling it here in the bay, I mean, there are a ton of grouper in the bay. There's 2 or 3 ways you can do it. One good way to do it is to stretch 25s. I like the 25 plus mirror lures. And what you want to use is 50-pound braid or 65-pound braid. About like so, of a 100-pound leader. Let it out behind your boat, and you can tell when the lure is working correctly because your rod tip will be bouncing like this, and every once in a while it'll go like that, and that's where it's hitting the bottom. That's where you want it. You want it right along there, and where I like to typically troll is from that 28 feet to 32 feet, because then you're right on the top of the ledge of the ship channel. Kind of, if you can envision this, you're just kind of going off the edge, just like this, just zigzag. Then what you want to do, when you hit one, hit your waypoint on your machine, and the next thing you know, lo and behold, you have set yourself up a milk run to where you're like, I get one here, I get one here, I get one here, I get one here, and you just pretty much set that up. Now, that being said, that same technique will work out in the Gulf. My partner on the radio show, Mike Mahoney's been 240 off beam point, and I'm like, Mahoney, shut the H up. That's where they're at, 240 degrees off beam point. hit that 30 feet of water, start trolling on out to 50, you will wear them out. As a matter of fact, that's where we're catching a lot of our big grouper out hooking, you know, not trolling, but hooking line them. Another way that you can get these grouper is take a number 3 or a number 2 planer, put it behind the boat, get a 4 ounce, like a mission fishing jig head, that big long curly tail, and put that on about, I don't know, about me to you behind the leader, behind the planer, and drag that. You can also drag the bomber long eggs, and they work really well. You'll get some shorts in that. The one thing that I have found that I have never, ever caught a short grouper on is I'll take that number 3 planer, I will run 10 feet, I'll come off of the planer with a ball bearing snap swivel, like the snap is. I think they're about $4 a piece. Come off the back of that, run 10 feet, then put a ball bearing barrel swivel, then another 10 feet, and then I'll put my spoon on number 5 drone spoon or Clark spoon. The reason that you want to use those ball bearing barrel swivels, the way a spoon works is it spins. Well, now you got that heavy, that 80, 100-pound leader on there. If you don't use those ball bearing barrel swivels and snap swivels, it's going to be swinging like this. You put those ball bearing barrel and snap swivels in there, it'll spin in a diameter like that. I have not caught, every fish I've caught on that has been large. If you're trolling, I'll tell you a trick an old man told me. He said if you're dragging and you're not getting them, take your old t-shirt or old white rag, cut you a strip about as wide as your finger, about that long, and put on that hook and make you a trailer on there to give it a little more action. All 3 of those ways will work here in the bay. It'll also work out in that water, out off of the Gulf. How many of you grouper fish? How many of you use like 4 aughts and 6 aughts and all that stuff, the big heavy stuff to catch a grouper? Pretty much lighten it up. Tell you what I thank you, Dennis. Tell you what I started doing. When we go to the Keys, I love to catch yellowtail snapper and all that stuff. And we use a technique called sandballing. Everybody familiar with sandballing? Anybody who's not? All right, sandballing, what you do, get you a chum block, put it in your 5-gallon bucket, let it stay out overnight and defrost. Then get you a bucket of sand, the builder's sand, that real fine stuff. Put your chum block on it, in that, take it out of the bag, pour you some shad oil, any kind of nasty, stinky mess you can find, and stir it all up together. You're going to get it up to your elbows, and you're going to smell like, you know, the south end of a northbound mule, but mix it all up. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take it, and you're going to compact it and make you like a ball the size of a baseball. Don't throw it in the water, just put your hand right overboard and just let it go. Well, what it's going to do is it goes all the way to the bottom, and it's breaking up all the way down, and when it hits the bottom, boom. All that sand and all that chum and all that oil and stuff has gone to the bottom. As a matter of fact, when we fry fish at the house, that peanut oil, I save it and I pour it in with my stuff because it's got that fish scent to it. It's oily, and you ought to see the chum sleep that comes up. Yes, sir.
In lieu of that t-shirt, try taking a piece of chamois. You can cut the chamois and
Right.
shape it that way. They'll never rip it off. And that chamois goes through the water like it's so.
Oh, I bet it does. Yeah, any kind of cloth.
But you have to keep it wet. You have to keep it in the jar, keep it wet all the time.
Really? What, the chamois?
Well, it'll dry out when you can always throw it back
Put
in
it in
the
that
water.
gulp jar.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it in that gulp jar.
There you go. But anyway, guys, what we did is we took that and dropped that over, and then went out with Ozzie Fisher and tried it down at Sanibel. Lo and behold, it worked. And I started doing it here, and it works into up to 110 feet of water. Before I even let my clients start fishing, I will drop those balls over about 3 every minute. I'll drop them over. I got my well full of pilchards and pinfish, and I'll just throw them some freebies. Just throw them over and watch that machine. It'll go from a show like this to that whole screen will be full. Bro, you can just take like a 4-ounce weight or a 2-ounce jig head with a curly tail on it. You don't even need a bait. drop it down, and I mean, the grouper will knock the pure tar out of it. But what I've been doing is using 1.5 ounce to a 2 ounce bucktail jig with 30-pound braid on a spinning rod with a 40-pound leader. Hook that pinfish right underneath the chin on that bucktail jig, and you can whip their butts a lot easier with that lighter tackle than you can with the heavier stuff. I don't know why we don't get hung up in the rocks as bad, and our catch ratios have gone up. I think what it is instead of having a standard grouper rig, you're already hooked up to it, and when you start to crank and you don't have that slack you've got to get out, you've got him hooked, you've got his head going up. Guy that's made for me says, you got to keep their tail down. I'm like, what? He said, you got to keep their tail. I'm like, their tail? He's like, yeah, you got to keep their tail pointed toward the bottom and keep that head coming up. And it, you know, it makes sense. You get their head coming up. It's kind of hard to do that, but it's a lot more fun. It's like, and a lot of times you'll get that hit and you'll miss, you start reeling and you miss it. But with that bucktail, a lot of times you can just open your bail up, let that bucktail with the hair go to the bottom, and it blouses out like that, and you'll get that bite right away and you'll get them. But it is just so much fun, and we've really been chumming really heavy, get these fish to even come up top to where we can see them and catch them free lining out there. That being said, we were out, there's a bunch of tuna out there right now, the permit are here, the tarpon are here. It's just, when you go fish, it's more or less, what do you want to catch? So that's about it. I mean, it's just absolute, but try that light tackle stuff. It really, really works, and I'm not kidding you when I tell you that these gags are present from 16 feet to 200 feet. They're absolutely, absolutely everywhere. We're even catching red grouper in 40 feet of water, which is not that far out. And we've been getting American red snapper in as close as 45 feet, which traditionally was a 90 feet plus fish, but they have moved that close in. And something a lot of folks don't know, when you're out fishing and you hit the federal waters, you are allowed 1.5 pounds of meat, of filleted meat, for consumption while you're out there. Don't make the mistake and bring it in. You got to eat it while you're out there. So whenever we go offshore, always make sure you got about 6 so limes, some cilantro, some onion chopped up, some tomato, and just take that fish, fillet it, slice it, put that juice on it, make some ceviche out there. Tiger can, it don't get no better, does it? And the area's kind of gray on what kind of fish you can have. It doesn't really say that the fish has to be in season for you to take it. So you can have you some American red snapper, some scamp, and some gas. It's really, really, really tasty. Anybody have a question on grouper fishing or?
Any fishing.
Any fishing. Y'all got a mackerel tournament coming up? Yes, sir.
Do you use the butterfly jigs?
I do. They work really well, but I'm telling you, I'm a fan of that bucktail and doing. I mean that.
A lot cheaper.
Huh? Oh yeah, it is. I mean, you can get the bucktails pretty dang well. I like that Spro bucktail, and the pumpkin jig one now. Dave Blanchard, he sent me some that were just a standard bucktail, and then he sent me the bucktail that's got the mylar strip in it, that real flashy stuff. The mylar strip outperforms 2 to 1 over the standard bucktail. But I tell you, I'm sold, absolutely sold on that sandball. I don't put a chum block out anymore. I'll take me 2 or 3 chum blocks and thaw them out the night before, and on the way out, I'm back there mixing them up. And it just, try it. I swear to God, you will not be disappointed. And on the snapper, oh my God.
I have a silly question. Do you make it as you do it, or do you have
No,
to make
what I do, I've heard of people doing that, freezing their balls in the freezer. Well, that didn't sound right. That's a wintertime sport. All right, Terry. But no, they'll take it and freeze them and then just throw them over frozen. But what I do is I just make a bucket of it up, and then I just make, as I'm going. Yes, you might need to add some water to it to get it to stick. But I mean, it smells and it makes a mess, but it is really, really well worth it.
And the other good thing about those sandballs, if you have them good and chummed up, it'll keep the small ones that are closer to the top away from your bait and let it sink down to where the bigger fish are, and that's why you'll get more bigger fish, because it lets all the lower fish, it just passes them right by. That's what the
tell you what else it'll do. It'll get your running game going, your up top game. It will put a chum slick out like you would not believe. Last time, went out there and did it, we had kingfish as far as the eye could see, just skyrocketing back there in that chum slick that we had going.
What color spoon do you pull?
What color? I mix it up. On the spoons, I'll go from just a plain chrome. I like that one that looks like a banana. It's got like a cream color on it. And there's a green one that's got like the diamond stuff in the green and a blue. I like those. On the curly tails, I like the glow, the chartreuse, and the pink. And I just kind of mix it all up until I find out when one of them starts really outproducing the other. That's when we all trade around. Yes, sir.
How critical is the trolling speed?
Pretty critical.
It is.
I'd say about, yeah, about 4 knots. I was gonna say about 7 miles an hour. Yeah, that's about right. And you can watch by watching, if you're trolling the plugs, you can watch it, you on that cadence. You can tell when that rod tip's going like that, you're getting some real good action out of it. Somebody else have a question? Yes, sir.
They got any tarpon down in Emory yet?
Yes, sir.
They are down there?
Yes, sir. There's tarpon from the sky. They're here. They are here. Yes, sir.
What's a good rig for tarpon fishing?
A good rig, I like to just use like about a 5/0 hook and a blue crab. About that big. Are you talking about that or a rod and reel?
Rod reel.
Rod and reel, I'm using the Fenors. Using the Fenor like the 75, 65, 7500. I ordered the 8500s. And they're a little too big, to be honest with you, but that's what I already ordered them, so I'm gonna use them. But that 6500 will be about right. The thing with the Fenor, with the 75 and the 8500, the reason I got them, I can put 65 pounds of drag on that fish. So something's given and given right now. This is coming to the house, the line's gonna break, the rod's gonna break, the fish is gonna break, the client's gonna break, they're coming to the house. So, but that Fenora's sister company of Quantum that you guys were talking about before, and like Tiger said, new smoke is a real good reel. I've been playing with that. Michael's using those, I'm using the Fenors. And I'll tell you, the Marquesas, the round reels, dude, I am sold on those things that are wicked. I've caught. I'm using them for kingfish, using them for the traditional grouper digging. Caught sailfish on them in Costa Rica. I mean, that one rod and reel outfit. I'm doing everything that you would need a conventional to do, and it's performing in spades. The Marquesas, they're pricey. I mean, I think they list for around $350 just for the reel. But they, oh God, they're like silk, man, they're wicked. Somebody else have a question? Yes.
Hey, you were talking about mackerel fishing.
Yeah. All right, well, the way I like to mackerel fish out here in the bay, I think the key, like Tiger said, super easy. You need that water to be running pretty good. Go get you a bunch of sardines, live bait. Or if you don't want to do that, you can troll for them. But if you want to anchor up and get them, what I like to do is I use that double long shank hook. You can get them like at Southeastern or Mahoney's. It's got a real, you can use wire, but you don't quite get the strikes that you get just using that long shank hook. And I'll put it on like a 40-pound leader. I'll put some out under a cork or just let it run into current. And I'll just sit there and take those big threadies you get. I'll sit there with a pair of scissors and just cut chunks up. I'll put a chum block out and just start throwing that stuff out there, throw some freebies out. And any one of these range markers out here, you will absolutely wear them out. Or just look for the birds. I mean, they're all over the place. And you can troll a alt planer, just that itty bitty planer, or like a 3-ounce trolling weight. Put a double alt and an alt Clark spoon back behind it on a, say, 30-pound leader. Let it out about 15 feet, and just troll, and you'll catch it. Yes, sir.
That TMC 9395 is 4 extra long. In a size 1/0, it's probably as deadly as any.
It is. That's what I use. It just works really, really great. And if you use that hook that he just gave you, that I can't remember, what was the number again? 93.95. You'll get more hits on that than you will if you tie like a little piece of wire to it. You had a question?
Is that the reactor watch?
Yes, it is.
Who's that one?
Yeah, this thing right here, I tell you what, buddy, if somebody gets after you, you smoke them with this thing, they ain't getting up. Feel how heavy that thing is. But it's got yeah, right. Yeah, Tiger, take it off, pass it around.
This thing coming off my wrist. This is my anniversary present.
Yeah. But it's got like a 10-year battery, 10-year warranty on it. It's a good watch. I notice when I take it off, my arm keeps wanting to fly. It is.
It's like working out, right?
It is. It's a good.
How many of you guys ever seen the Spanish mackerel all schooled up and busting on bait? And sit there and go, man, I wish I could catch those. And they're hard as bejesus to catch. I found the easiest and cheapest way to catch those bad boys. Honest to God.
Sure.
If you take a 2-aught treble hook, go to McDonald's and snatch a whole bunch of straws, cut those straws down to about 2.5, 3 inches, tie the knot onto the hook, don't tie your leader to your main line yet, slide that straw down your line to that treble hook, and just cast out there and just reel back. And they'll smoke it every time.
Do you know what lure was invented by that principle?
No.
You ever heard of the gotcha lure?
Yeah.
That's the way, born in Morehead City, my hometown. That's what the gotcha lure was from, was a McDonald's or Hardee's there. There was a Hardee's straw against that hook with a 1/4 ounce egg sandwich. And that's what it was. That's how the gotcha plug was in there.
And you'll go through those straws like there's no tomorrow.
They like the yellow and the red.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it has to be the yellow and the red.
He ain't lying to you.
It is insane.
Anybody else have a question? Well, please do me a favor. If you're not a member of the FRA, please join it. There's power in our numbers. And if you will fill those letters out for Dennis to carry up there, it will make a difference. Because there's a lot of things coming, and us fishermen, we'll sit here in our fishing clubs and on the back porch and on the boats and all, and belly ache and whine and cry, well, they took this away, they took that away, but we won't do nothing about it.
Yep.
And it's a shame because we're the same way with the government. And if you don't think, we got to do something, because if you don't believe our government's broke, I can prove it to you just real quick. It'll only take a second. For the past 2 years, our government has wanted to pass, well, it doesn't matter which side of the stance you're on, they wanted to pass gun control laws. They want to get these assault weapons off. They want to get rid of these high-capacity magazine clips. I have accused Scott Patrick and all the firearms dealers for voting for the Obama administration and all the liberals that are pushing this agenda, because they have been absolutely, bar none, the best assault weapons salesman this planet has ever seen.
They can't keep it
They
themselves.
cannot keep the stuff in stock. They get a truckload. Michael bought a SIG 9mm from Scott 4 months ago. He called me today. He was all excited. He was heading up to shoot straight. They finally got 9mm ammunition in. 4 months.
Really?
4 months.
Yeah, but Billy, remember, it isn't an assault weapon. An assault weapons are fully automatic. It's a
Right.
weapon that simulates an assault
Right,
weapon.
that assaults that, and people say that, well, you know, do you really need a 30-round clip to deer hunt? No. But if you remember, this country was founded on our forefathers fighting against a tyrannical government. Now, if you think that what they call the assault weapon is going to compete against what our military has, there ain't no way. But it would be better than a single-shot Ted Williams 16-gauge shotgun. So,
Yeah, but
You know, I got
and I have to have both. I have to have both.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Where the hell is 1.6 billion rounds of hollow points going to the Department of Homeland Security?
For all you guys who bought
No
AR-15s.
military is allowed to use a hollow point. No police force in this country is allowed to use a hollow point. But where the hell are all those rounds going?
Homeland Security can.
And the body bags.
Homeland Security is allowed to use those. In any
1.6
defense.
billion rounds.
How many
Yep,
do they
it's
need?
how
I'd
many.
like to know what the hell you're gonna shoot. That's
What they're going to do is they're going to outlaw FRA membership. They're going to make it against law to be an FRA member. FRA membership is banned. high-capacity intelligence and fisheries, it's against the law. So you better get it now before it goes away. Sorry, I just was inspired.
That was awesome, man.
Hey, but seriously, there's all kinds of information about the FRA right here.
Big
Go
guys
ahead
sign
and
up.
Talk more guns.
But anyway, I mean, that's what I'm just saying, our government is broke, we need to fix it. If we don't do it, nobody else is. We need to make sure this fishery's there for our kids, our grandkids, and for us, you know, make sure it goes on. Thank you so much for your time.
Nice job.
You should say a prayer for every one of our guys.